Workforce Development Committee and also the audience that are listening in the meeting. This is RDC teleconferencing special meeting of July 9th, 2021 at 1 p.m. Roll call for the record. Ricky Naz.
Delegate Rick Nez is present.
Wilson Stewart Jr.
Present.
Thomas Walker Jr. Thomas Walker Jr. Mr. Chair, Mr. Walker is on the call.
I'm present. Yes, I'm present.
Herman M. Daniels.
Here.
Mark Freeland.
Green, red, green, red, green, red. Just checking my buttons. Thank you.
Kealan Begay Jr. Mr. Chair, you have 5 members present. I constitute a quorum for you to conduct your meeting today, special meeting today. Back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Begay, for that. Thank you. We had a prayer, a wonderful prayer this morning by Honorable Stewart. So, honorable colleagues, do you have any announcements? Ms. Begay, any announcements?
Mr. Chair, again, the only items that I have scheduled for July 12th through the 16th is a drought assessment tour that's going to happen. And again, the itinerary were sent out. And BIA will have their team joining RDC as well as Department of Agriculture. On the week of the 19th through the 24th, there's no meeting scheduled because of the Navajo Nation Council calling their summer session to order. And then the week thereafter, we'll be moving into preparing to go into the Navajo Nation annual budget sessions. Mr. Chair, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Begay. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any announcements?
Mr. Chair, this is Delegate Daniel.
Honorable Daniels, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The drought tour. I was looking at the schedule, the itinerary. And I seen that with Utah, I didn't see anything on the Utah chapters. Because our Navajo reservation goes into Utah too. I know we have graves and permit holders. We have Navajo people living in Utah, San Juan County. Even not the Navajo, but I had 2 chapters in Utah. So she has chapters in Utah. So it is quite the but Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Perhaps when we come back this way, somehow we still have time. It's only Friday. We have Saturday and Sunday, and then also Monday is our first day that we meet at Wonder Rock. Honorable Daniels, if you can respond to that email in reference to the itinerary, make your recommendation as to which chapter in Utah we can visit.
Mr. Chair, we'll go ahead and go according to the schedule. I'll invite the Utah delegation. I know the Utah delegation, the governor, the lieutenant governor, many that if you request for them to come down to the reservation, they come down. So I'm willing to meet with them and address the drought with them. Let's go. So thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable colleagues, any other announcements?
Chairman Keelan's online.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. No other announcements?
Chairman.
Yes.
Delegate Freeland.
Go ahead, Delegate Freeland.
Chairman, thank you. Just in regards to the tour, there's no way we can move it to the week after council, can we? I guess I asked this question because next week is really, there's a lot going on for myself and I'm sure for other of my colleagues in preparation for the council session. I don't know if that's a possibility, if it's too late, but I just wanted to put that out there, Shantai, the week after council, if that's okay. Yeah, Chairman, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Freeland. I believe RDC agreed and approved the RDC drought tour from Monday through Friday. The itinerary is in place, and I believe those that are going to join us from BIA, DNR, Department of Water Resources, and others have scheduled their staff to be with RDC that week, next week. I also took that time next week to attend all 5 days to be with you all as leadership to look at the land condition across the Great Navajo Nation impacted by this extreme drought. According to the National Drought Mitigation Center, we're in D and 4, D3 and D4, and it covers the whole Navajo Nation and looks really bad. So, Honorable Freeland, appreciate your request, but at this time, I don't think we can reschedule it. So we have to stay with it, and I don't want to do anything to cause anything as far as rescheduling. I know we're all very busy, but we as RDC oversight, we're the oversight over land, and we need to take time. We do need to take time and look at the land. We're the oversight over it. We're going to have to take this tour to look at it and provide an assessment and make decisions on it. Honorable Freeland, thank you for your concern. Any other announcements? None. Recognizing guests and visiting officials. Introductions. We'll start with honorable members of RDC. Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Chairman and committee members and our staff, other visiting officials and guests that are on this call. Thomas Walker, the Western Navajo Agency, ADIO. Chapters that I represent is City Loop, Tulani Lake, Cameron, and Coal Mine Canyon chapters. Ibanashako. Kutela ado no dan shinigi a shinhinshin. Be between Bashes chain, put something to say that Edo Sadishki Dashinal. Although the Nan Shado, what ego. How I gave Nahuish order. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Honorable Stewart.
Oh, good afternoon, Shana. Shana, Kat, Major. It's not Angie. This afternoon, Nidisha Dodge, Wilson C. Stewart Jr., and Jedot South that Nashato Koronich and Hashna. So, the communities I represent, but Hadashagi Ayat South, so Bekachi, Twansdon, he jid. For Defiance Agency Representative for a Resource Development Committee.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart.
What's on age then? I catching but just catching that should take up big point. Sorry, Chair, to think where I left off.
Are you riding a horse? Yes, it's Celeste. Thank you. Honorable Daniels.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Herman Daniels Jr. But I mean, Slido can achieve it. Though that's another. Was yet leaning, not kind of made a sushi. Or that meant cycle, the way old Jane talk. Shot towards a beacon, I do not saw any bananas. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable Freeland.
Chairman, good afternoon, colleagues, Resource Development Committee members. Shujay Mark Freeland, the Shiedo, Dothrani Tutswani, Slow Kio, Ani, Bushes Chin, Sandra Canada, Shiche. I represent 8 chapters of the Eastern Navajo Agency, Crown Point, Nahadishki, I have the 70 White Rock, Lake Valley, Herfano, and Nyaza, as well as the 23 other chapters in Eastern Navajo Agency for 31 chapters total. Good afternoon to one and all colleagues. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Honorable Begay.
Chairman, good afternoon. RDC member, staff of Senegate. Good afternoon. Hanan hit Nanslan Kia Ani, that's a Zabtani, that's a chain. This unit is another. Others law, Landatli, but Hatashaki, Loman, Tachibuga. Solankan with Nodlini and many from Fleet Oi, Kodosan on Jason Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Chair Rick News in Shia. Oh, Shannon, oh, Zeta Chini, Bushes Chin, Sana, Bessendash Chedo, Kia Ani, Dashanella, Lower Fruland, East, Koro, Naya, Hastango chapters, Vanash, Nish, Hogback, San Juan, and Hanzara for Fruland, Burnham, and Newcomb. Welcome, everybody. Do we have any of our colleagues on the call with us this afternoon? Honorable members of the 24th Council.
Chairman, this is Delegate Otto So. I'm on the line.
Honorable Chairman So, introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah, Otto So in Shia. I don't 20 next. This is David Bishman. I'm Schnedo. I na kanya ko he cleaning sledo and says hapa shin. I didn't thank you.
Any other council members on the call? Almer Begay? Then RDC staff.
Delegate Wanika.
Honorable Wanika Hamsi.
Yeah, Chairman, this is Delegate Edison Wanika. That's St. Michael's and Oak Springs, Adabatanasta, Ado Shihin Slido, Trababa Sistine, Kia Ane, that's Chido, Tudichin, National. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Wanika, and thank you for joining us. Shananda, honorable members of the 24th Council, anybody else on the call with us? None. Ms. Begay, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. This is Shami Begay, Legislative Advisor to RDC. Located Angelo, the Business Chain to Bonnet, Edishite, Hachini, Edishalo Dice, and Mr. Chair, back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Begay. Ms. Woody?
Oh, yeah, it's not. I don't know what you. Teresa Woody, she had all top on show the Bethlehem and the Bush chain. Here on it, she shaded out to a generator, another, but all a Spanish had only gentle see the late Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Woody. Anybody from the Office of Legislative Counsel?
Chair, Sheila Smith, Chad Abeda, Office of Legislative Counsel. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Abeda, for being with us today. Certainly appreciate that. Anybody else?
Yes,
Speak.
good afternoon, Chair and Resources and Development Committee. This is Dana Barbara, Chief Legislative Counsel. Thank you.
Ms. Barbara, good to hear from you. Thank you for getting on the call with us. From Speaker's Office, Ms. Yako.
Hi, good afternoon, Chairman, members of the Resources and Development Committee. She'eya Melinda Arviso, Siako Yan Shiedo, Sitna Janine Shlon, Kia Ani Bashish Chin, Twitch Ini Dashichedo, Dashchini Dashanella, currently a legislative staff assistant for the Office of the Speaker here in Window Rock, Arizona. Thank you. Dohyaha.
Thank you. Anybody from the Office of the President, Vice President? Mr. Filford? Press star 6. None. Department of Justice? None. NHA, Mr. Wasetta?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. We
Sir,
can hear you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Have a little bit. This is Dwayne Wasita, interim CEO with Navajo Housing Authority, Anastasia. I have Miss Nellie Gilmore and Heather Duncan that can introduce himself for the record.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Gilmore. NHA staff, go ahead.
Hello. Hello.
Go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of RDC members, and those that are on the call, and NHA team. She'eya Nelly Gilmore Yinshiero, Kabahi Ashley, Podachini Bashashin, Honagani A Dashachedo, Pachini Aya Dashanale. Auto Grants Manager for NHA. Thank you.
NHA staff?
Chairman, I think that's it. Ms. Duncan's answering a call at the moment, and she won't be able to intro, so we can move on. And
okay,
I
do
believe
you have your Board of Commissioners on the call with us?
Board of Commissioners should be on.
Board of Commissioners, Mr. Sloan?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon again to the council. This is David Sloan. I'm Twaglini, born for Glizislanum. And my Nali is Eshi. My Che is Dischini. I'm an architect. I'm living and working in Albuquerque. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sloan, for getting on the call. Mr. Lake? Ms. Carrie Begay?
Good afternoon, sir. Shea Carrie Begay, and I'm present at the meeting. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Begay, for getting on the call. Mr. Lake, press star 6 to unmute. None. Anybody else on the call that wishes to introduce themselves?
Hello? Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, they Stanford Lake and Shia. Tourness do you see not shot. Shit mentioned Chilachini Shlong, Porichini Basistin, Hanaran, Edasin, Nalido, Kia Ani, Dasichi. I immensely, like I said, I'm one of the new board commissioners that was appointed maybe a couple of weeks ago. And then I'm just catching up with the help of David Sloan and Carrie Begay on all these new items. And one of my initiatives through the Navajo Nation President's Office is new construction. That's my motto to being on the board. So yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lake, for introducing yourself. We would like to welcome you to NHA Board of Commissioners. Also, Mr. Lake, your services to the great Navajo Nation, our Navajo people who are in native homes. So, Mr. Lake, thank you for getting on the call. Certainly appreciate leadership, all three of you on the call with us today. Thank you. Any other folks on the call wishing to introduce themselves?
My name is Kevin Long. I am the Pesmera Lake, Saru, Baca Land Board, and I'm also a realtor in the state of New Mexico. Shihin Shlodo, Tunatini Basistin, Alto, the Snellado, Toditin, the Sache. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? None? Thank you. Everybody, welcome. We'll go to number 3 on the agenda, reviewing and approving the agenda. Ms. Begay, could you read the agenda in for the record, please?
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, Resource Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council Teleconferencing RDC, special meeting, July 9th, 2021, 1 a.m. agenda, 1 p.m. agenda. Presiding, Ricky Nash, Chairperson, Thomas Walker Jr., Vice Chairperson. 1, calling meeting to order, roll call, invocation, announcement. 2, recognizing guests and visiting official. 3, reviewing and approving the agenda. 4, reviewing and approving the journals. None. 5, receiving report. None. 6, old business. None. 7, new business. A, legislation 0106-21 and action relating to resource development, approving the fiscal year 2022 Navajo Nation Housing Plan for Native American Housing Assistance Self-Determination Act of 1966, Nahasda Indian Housing Block Grant Funding. Prime sponsors, Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. B, approving to schedule a leadership meeting to discuss grazing permit consent relative to Navajo Nation infrastructure project utility service projects. 8, conclusion committee meeting, other announcement, adjournment. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Begay. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second.
Motion, Stewart.
Freeland. Second, Freeland.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart and Honorable Freeland. Any questions or comments on the main motion of the agenda? None. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay? Honorable Begay? Honorable Vice Chair Walker? Go ahead. Thank you, Honorable Begay. Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
Chairman, I vote green.
Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. We just adopted the agenda as is. For number 4, reviewing and approving journals, there's none. Number 5, receiving reports, there's none. Old business, none on number 6. Number 7, new business. A, legislation 0106-21, Sponsor, Honorable Vice Chair Thomas Walker Jr. Ms. Begay, could you read this in for the record, please?
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, I emailed you a copy of the legislation this morning, and you have legislative summary sheet for tracking number 0106-21. The date on it is June 30th, 2021. Title of the resolution, proposed standing committee resolution and action relating to resource development, approving the fiscal year 2022 Navajo Nation housing plan for the Native American Housing Assistance and Self-Determination Act of 1996, Nahasda Indian Housing Block Grant Funding. The purpose of the resolution is to, this resolution, if approved, will approve the FY22 Navajo Nation housing plan for the Nahasda Indian Housing Block Grant and the submission of the Navajo Nation Indian Housing Plan by Navajo Housing Authority on behalf of the Navajo Nation. You will see that legislation 0106-21, RDC had the final authority and sponsored, this legislation is sponsored by Thomas Walker Jr. And tracking number 0106-21 and action relating to resource development, approving the approving the fiscal year 2022 Navajo Nation housing plan for the Native American Housing Assistance and Self-Determination Act of 1996, Nahasda Indian Housing Block Grant Funding. Be it enacted, Section 1, Authority. A, the Resource Development Committee is the standing committee of the Navajo Nation Council 2 NNC Section 500A. B, the Resource Development Committee is authorized to grant final approval for the Native American Housing Assistance Self-Determination Act of 1996, Nahasda Indian Housing Plan. 2 NNC Section 501B2B, Section 2, finding the Navajo Housing Authority has prepared the fiscal year 2022 Navajo Nation housing plan for the Nahasda Indian Housing Block Grant, which is attached as Exhibit A. Section 3, approval. B, the Resource Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby approves the fiscal year 2022 Navajo Nation housing plan for the Nahasda Indian Housing Block Grant funding attached hereto as Exhibit A. B, the Navajo Nation hereby approves the submission of the Navajo Nation Indian Housing Plan by the Navajo Housing Authority on behalf of the Navajo Nation. You will note that the Exhibit A that is referenced in the content of the legislation, the Exhibit A is attached to the packet. And the legislative public review, the Internet public review publication will indicate that the past packet was posted on the council website on July 2nd, 2021. And the 5-day comment period ended on July 7th, 2021. And there were no comments received. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Begay, for reading legislation 0106-21 in for the record. We have Honorable Vice Chair Walker as the sponsor. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second. Motion.
Motion, Daniel.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Sorry. Is there a second?
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Are there any questions, Nanda? Okay, let me give the time over to Honorable Vice Chair Walker. You have 20 minutes, sir.
Hey, thank you, Chairman Nez, for the time allocation to have legislation presented to our committee here, Resource and Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council. Ado Shinanta, committee members, Ado other colleagues of the 24th Navajo Nation Council that are on the call. Ado the legislation 0106-21 is read into the record is the Indian Housing Plan for year 2022. Resource Development Committee. The Navajo Housing Authority, the interim CEO, the management staff, agent that Mr. Wassetti and Ms. Gilmore, Shada, and then of course on the call with us also are the new Board of Commissioners, NHA Board of Commissioners. As far as the 2022 Indian Housing Plan that is being proposed here, be really brief, and I'll have my agents do the presentation of the legislation. Mr. Chairman, committee members, go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. I'll give the time over to Mr. Wasita, also Ms. Gilmore.
Good afternoon, Chairman Nez and RDC committee members. My name is Dwayne Wasita. I'll be giving you a brief overview of the Indian Housing Plan 2022. Within the proposed plan that's being submitted and was given out to RDC for review and discussion, this program has several different activities in there that's related to the operation and maintenance of the 1937 Housing Act, the operation and maintenance of Nahazda units, and other programs that considers is the modernization of 1937 and the rehabbing of non-1937 and the new construction portion of public rentals at four communities across the reservation, and new housing, scattered site developments, and another program is the infrastructure development, and the last portion of is a model activity and rehab assistance to existing homeowners. This is an annual submittal for fundings that have been appropriated through the annual Nahazda funding sources, and so what before you is a continuance of every year of putting program activities together to provide funding in terms of housing services or housing developments. I have Ms. Nellie Gilmore, which is the grants management manager, which can provide you more details into each one of the programs and how they're going to be carried out. Ms. Gilmore?
Mr. Wasita, are you done?
Yes, I was going to turn it over to Ms. Gilmore.
Okay. Ms. Gilmore?
Hello? Hello?
Yes, we're here. Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Chair and members of the Resources Committee, I'd like to go over the actual Exhibit A. Exhibit A, which is on page, I believe, after the resolution or the legislative legislation and then Board of Commissioner resolution is attached, and the Board of Commissioner has acted on this legislation or this resolution on June 25th, and attached to that is, of course, the summary that we went over this morning, and then under Exhibit A is the actual grant application. So that's on page, it does say on page 1 of 1, but which is further down after the summary. But like we indicated before, this is our normal process. The grant application is really a web-based application process that we do, and we submit to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So the grant application has all the information, and then all the description, it entails all the description relating to the plan, program, benefits. It gives a summary of how NHA is going to serve the community, the Navajo Nation. There's a summary of that, and then our geographic information is under Exhibit A, page 3. That you can read that information. It gives a geographic distribution of these funds. And then going on to 2020-01 is like we indicated, operation and maintenance. So there was a question this morning regarding what happened to all the carryover projects. In this document, you will find all the carryovers from a portion of 2018 and then 19, and then the new projects that was presented to you this morning. So there is quite a few carryovers, but also these carryovers are also in progress. So coming December, a lot of these projects are going to be reported on the annual performance report. So if you review the operation and maintenance, there's pretty big projects that are in progress. So included in here is the new projects that I indicated. So all the way from 01, then you go to page, 5 of 28 is the operation and maintenance of Nahaza Assistant Housing Units. That again includes the carryover from 2021. Those projects are in progress. And then the last portion are the new, I know it's kind of hard to read the way this form is set up, but it includes what was presented this morning as new projects in that category. And then you go to further down, the bottom of page 6 is our housing services activities. These are again including the carryover budgets from 2021. And so it also includes new projects for 2022, if there was any. I don't believe so. It's only 2021 that are being carried over. So going further down to bottom of page 7 of 28, we have the crime prevention activities. Here again, you have the carryover projects, a lot of projects in motion right now as far as crime prevention activities. Again, a lot of these projects will be reported in the annual performance report this year. And then going further to, at the bottom of page 8, you have the tenant-based rental assistance. This is where we assist our community members on and off the reservation with tenant-based rental vouchers. So that's a carryover project as well. There was no new project. Then going further down to the next, at the bottom of page 9 of 28, you have the modernization of the 1937 housing at units. Here again, we have carryover projects. A lot of them are in motion. There's Crown Point, there's Twin Lakes, there's Ojo Amarillo, there's Mariano Lake, Ojo Amarillo again, and I believe the new projects are the ones at Ojo Amarillo Phase 5 construction that we talked about this morning, and then the other one is in the planning process. So these are under modernization is, I think Dwayne covered this morning, is part of FCAS. The FCAS and the operation and modernization go together. We have to fund that because there is a 24 CFR, I believe it was, I know I had it found it this morning to look at it and come up with a description for you, but anyhow, these are kind of like a restriction, like how to have to fund this FCAS. So those projects are listed there, and then if you look at the in the middle of one of the description, it says plan number of units to be completed. That's a real important information to look at. It tells you how much project is to be completed. So by the time the annual performance report comes around, then you will have the actual number of how much has been completed. Also at the bottom, it gives a description of the amount of funds that are going to be used. And again, these funds are not set in stone. They're pretty much just planned expenditure. So you will see that. And going on to the bottom of page 10, you have 2022-07 rehab of non-1937. Again, a lot of carryover projects. Some of the projects that were mentioned this morning were home ownership that are out there boarded up and needs to be refurbished or renovated or rehab or listed right here. And if you see, there's projects all the way from Eastern Navajo to Western Navajo, the Telecom area. So these are right now in the works. So we have just that one new project, which is the FEMA project that's listed there. So going on to the bottom of page 11, improvements to provide accessibility. Again, these are carryover projects. We didn't have any new projects. Then going down to the bottom of page 12 is your new construction of rental housing. Again, there's a lot of projects that are currently in progress. We refer to them as carryover projects. So, and then I think we have 2 or 3 new projects listed there. So just to give you an idea, kind of like an education as to how we put our plan together in the EPIC system. So, and then going on to bottom of page 13 is our new construction of home ownership units. So that again, these are all projects are being carried over, and then the new projects are listed there. And then going to page 15 is our transitional and group home improvements. We didn't have any in this category, but we do have carryover funds for this. That includes Burt Springs and Whippoorwill that are in there. Going further to page 16 is the model activities. Again, some of these are carryovers, and then just about 4 new projects listed there that we just talked about this morning. And then the last, I think not last, but 2022-18, again, rehab of the existing home ownership. Again, these are all carryovers. There's quite a bit of projects as well. There wasn't hardly any new ones. And going further on the bottom at page 18 is rehab assistant existing Haza public rental. These are roof replacement. These are carryover projects. Let's see. 2022-20 is the HUD residential opportunity and self-sufficiency. We do get the Ross grant as well. We got it last year, so they're a part of the IHP, the Indian Housing Plan as well. We got 117,750 that we include in part of the EPIC that we do as other funding sources. Going on to HUD-VASH on page 20, we do get HUD-VASH for our veterans. So that again, we have some carryovers. And for this year, we're planning to assist 20 veterans. Let's see, the last one, I believe, is the 2022 rehab of non-1937 housing at. Here, we do have quite a number of home ownership units that have been paid off and need repairs. Again, you can see the list of where all the locations are. Those are carryovers. And the last one is our COVID activities that funds were reallocated. Some of our IHBG funds were reallocated for IHBG, for COVID-19 activities, and there's 2 areas, which is like IT, hardware, and software for our operation. And then the other one is the public education and outreach on COVID-related safety activities. So with that, this is all the activities that I'm presenting to you, and then page 25 of 28 is all the sources of funding that we receive. There's our Indian Housing Block Grant. There's some of non-federal funds, like from the Navajo Nation, is listed there, and then the Ross grant, like I said, and also the HUD-VASH. So all in all, our total funding with other sources like $244 million, and then also the breakdown of the actual cost of all the activities are listed on page 25 and 26. So, Mr. Chair, with that, I believe I cover all the areas in the IHP. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gilmore. Ado Snanta, Honorable Vice Chair Walker, you have 1 minute left if you wish to say something.
Okay, can you hear me, Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chairman and the motioning party to approve the Indian Housing Plan for 2022. Plan sponsor agent ya na hadlegi e be agent nane de kitla na de kitwalo. So Hotela, back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Honorable colleagues, and Resource and Development Committee, have any comments or questions? I do have in the queue Honorable Kialan Begay.
Chairman, can you put me in the queue box? Thank you.
Yes. Honorable Begay.
Chairman, Yate Nana, RDC member, Seniki. Chairman, while I'll be speaking, I sent an email to our legislative council, possibly an amendment to be added to the legislation. Appreciate the NHA administration and then the current board on the line here in Chicago. I'm sure you heard some of my frustration at yesterday's meeting and this morning. I'm hoping that it's not just be set aside of my concerns regarding housing development on the Navajo Nation. So the key thing that I will still have a situation or an issue regarding this legislation, and it is always that we're being cornered to approve it. Otherwise, Navajo Nation is not going to receive funding. That's usually the case, because I believe this particular application, it has to be submitted by the 16th of July, which is next week. But I believe there should be an opportunity for the current board to review it. If that is the case, one question to the board members is that, because down the road, I don't want to hear for the incoming board to say that that wasn't our plan, but we're just following what the plan says. So I believe that there should be an opportunity for the current board members to review the housing plan. And then down the road, should the board member chooses another director, then we have another situation. And I don't want to hear if there's going to be a new board, executive director, for her or him to say that, well, this is what I inherit on the Hatnida. On the specialty, Yago, but the Oshilak El Sodo, Obey, on the Hatnida. So I believe that although that the Navajo Nation or the Oversight Committee will approve this legislation, I'd like to add a language to say that there should be an opportunity for the board member to have, if there needs to be a recommendation for changes, that should be allowed. And then if a new executive director is in place, and then if he or she will be able to want some changes, and that should be allowed. And that's my recommendation of an amendment language, Chairman. Take at all business to obelansi tliko to koto nanes pechetiado nanes hodiado kotik at beta innocent out o it a benednes or the darkness. Slated us earlier. I heard one of the board members saying that this is my vision, my task as a board member. No, see. So that means that there should be an opportunity, and the board members, and then get it. Shout out, and the link me go be hot to listen. So, additional chairman. A carbon natural eight or 8 with us, maybe each needed all this. Other board members, not Seniki. If you don't understand Navajo, my apology, but I'll try my best to summarize it at the end. Akoko Ashon, it online hitish need all this board members, not Seniki. Ashon, that sad and Dindiki, that's Abahonosin. I don't hit the Navajo, Heki, Navajo Nation, but Kagon hit Nakeda hat Indiki. That's easy, his back was in. Hit net at October, his tagging, hit net at the basic cheap, his tagging. Ado Kodoho once Aniki, Pito, the Krishi family members, household, Gita Bavaniki, that's in his back was in. Ado Sunday, Cheta at the hot at net at the out at Ego. And even some of our Navajo people can't afford to have an outhouse or use it. It may be funny to some, but that's the reality on our Navajo nation. This is how much we're asking. It's fine and dandy to read out how we want to utilize this funding. But my question this morning was that how will it be different? How is this different from the previous applications? And I've asked about why and when will the burnout NHA housing be cleaned out in Nazlini area. Earlier, it concerns me for an executive director to say that I wish I had a wand to say that let it be done and it's complete. That tells me that there is a bigger situation within the ministry. This is a sincere justification of how, and this is how we put a plan together. And that's why I kept asking, can you do a comparison of the past 5 years? How much of these funds were diverted to a different purpose once they received the funding? So those are some areas, board members, Nosiniki, I'm pleading with you. How can we help one another to build maybe at least one home? If that's the situation of building a home for Navajo to receive so much money, but all they could afford to do is build one home within 1 year, let's do it. But I would prefer to build more than one home throughout the year, throughout the Navajo Nation. So that's my request respectfully. Board members, go out there, go to the chapter, go to the community, talk with the Navajo people. Don't just read them on the newspaper. Go out there, that way we know first, you'll know firsthand of what we talk about. Yes, we may be in Windarup, but a lot of time Windarup level or Chinle, have more modern situation. But if you go out in the rural part of the Navajo Nation, that's where the real problem is with our veterans, schools, grandmas, grandpa. As you know, that the new census count is over almost 400,000. And then how many of them are going to school? How many wants to come back to school? I don't hear programs that like public safety. Or they have to travel back and forth from different locations. They have to travel more than 1 hour, 2 hours. That takes time out of their family, see? I believe it's in Rat Valley. Kishako ba atkin. Hahalati atkin ba atnehla ajinizanla. So these are some areas. I don't in another area is mini farms. There's a big pothole open and what has go oh test to at the NHA compound. Other one that's a gas bigger that's a one so these are the situations that I see, and this is what we hear directly from our community, the people that elected us in this position. So we're the voice and the eyes and the ears for these people. So if you guys, NHA management board members, if you had enough of hearing from us, go to each of the chapter and the community members and hear it from them. Don't let the reporters of a newspaper report it to get your facts and get your information. Go out there, be among them, attend a chapter meeting, attend a planning meeting, a veterans meeting, a grazing meeting, a farm board meeting, a school board meeting, whatever meeting is taking place out there. Gather those data, gather those information. Chairman. So with that, I'd like to again, once the language is ready, I'd like to make a motion to add this onto the legislation, if it's possible. Though committee members so Chairman, I give it back to you, but I'd like to get the time back to make an amendment. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Honorable Begay, for your statement. Before I acknowledge your motion, Honorable Begay, there was an email response to your request on the amendment to this legislation by our Chief Legislative Counsel. And I believe that rather than having an amendment language on this legislation 0106-21, the Indian Housing Plan, to be submitted to the federal government for NHA, I believe rather than having an amendment language, Honorable Begay, perhaps we could do a directive to the Board of Commissioners for NHA, as well as Mr. Wasetta. Honorable Begay, did you receive your email yet?
I did, Chairman, I did review it. I'll go ahead and acknowledge the Legislative Council's recommendation, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Since you spoke to make a motion, could you withdraw that motion, sir?
Chairman, I do withdraw my motion on this particular proposed language. So, Chairman.
Okay, and my recommendation is, Honorable Begay, after we approve the legislation 0106-21, we can make a motion and a second to provide that directive, and perhaps our Chief Legislative Counsel who responded can, Ms. Barbara, are you still on the line?
Yes, Chair, I am, and I will develop the language for the directive.
We would certainly appreciate that language for the directive, and thank you, Ms. Barbara, for that. Certainly appreciate it. Honorable Freeland, and then Honorable Daniels.
Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, proceed, Honorable Freeland.
Thank you, Chairman. Colleagues, Resource Development Committee members, as well as my other colleagues on the call.
Board of Commissioners, as well as executive staff and our staff from the Navajo Nation on this call. Good afternoon. Appreciate the presentation, Chiche, as well as sponsoring this important legislation. I wanted to ask one of the questions which my brother had asked is Honorable Kealan Begay. What makes this IHP different from previous years' submissions of IHP? What's unique about this particular submission? How does it differ? How is it more beneficial to our Navajo people? And what do you see, or what outcomes do you foresee take place, or what will take place from this submission of the IHP to the federal government? That's my first question. Second, Iggy, is related to how the IHP itself, how is the IHP going to be set forth into motion? What mechanisms are you going to put in place to make this IHP work and to make it to proceed forth with opportunity for our people? What results should we expect from this IHP? Lastly, I guess I want to kind of speak to the tone of the congressional level, and how do we, what's our perception of Indian affairs, Senate Indian affairs right now? How are we being seen by them with this IHP? Are they going to challenge us? Are they going to doubt us? Or are they supportive? How are we being perceived right now in Washington, D.C. with this submission? And I really I'm hopeful with the new Board of Commissioners. I'm real hopeful, that new innovative, creative ideas will come about, that we don't be kind of finding ourselves in these types of situations where our wheels are spinning continuously. I really want to see progress more than anything for our people, and especially for Eastern Navajo. And how can we attain that progress? It takes communication, it takes teamwork, it takes effort, and we have to talk to each other. We have to communicate effectively. And when we are out there in the corporate world, there is certain dynamics that they set forth, that each of us have a role, or each of us have a way to contribute. How do we contribute to the success of this IHP, or how will we contribute to the success of this IHP? And each of us do have a role, and we need to fulfill that role as leadership. We have a lot to prove, not only to ourselves, but to our people and to the United States government, which is the funding source. I really am hopeful. I'll continue to say that I'm very hopeful. This new Board of Commissioners will steer this ship in the right direction. Mr. Waseda, I appreciate you captaining this ship, and I'm hopeful that you will lead, Indian Health, Navajo Housing Authority into, uncharted waters, because that's where we need to go. That's the direction we need to sail to. Is we need to get this thing going. And I just want to make those comments, Chairman. It's so important right now in the eyes of Washington. It's so important in the eyes of our people that we produce a product that is solidified, that's justified, that will give results in the long run. Because a lot of people continue to doubt us and our progress, and challenge us in many ways, and say this is not going to happen, that's not going to happen. A lot of what we do and what we see, we have come about because of things happening in the past, and it catches up to us. And right now, this situation with the IHP and that NHA situation. The dark cloud still is over us. We need to remove, it's time we need to remove that dark cloud, commissioners, and heal that black eye that we have had for so long. It's time that we proceed forward, be innovative, be creative, think of ways that your decisions, our decisions, will benefit the Navajo people. That's all we ask, Shantapai. But Chairman, I just wanted to make those comments and ask those questions as well. I'm hopeful. I'll continue to pray for the progress of our people and the wellness, the well-being of our people during COVID. I'll pray for, Navajo Housing Authority to progress and succeed. I'll pray for our leadership to continue to communicate and collaborate with one another in ways that will carry us on into a brighter and a greater Navajo Nation future. So, Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland.
Chair, Delegate Begay. Honorable Begay.
Okay, Honorable Begay, I'll put you in the queue right after Honorable Daniels. Thank you. Mr. Wasita, and also Ms. Gilmore, if you would respond to Honorable Begay and Honorable Freeland. You have the floor. Press *6 to unmute.
Chairman Nez, with the information that the questions that asked from Kial and Begay were similar to this morning, we'll I think it'd be best to answer them all in the written format, so we have documents and documentation to support. Hopefully, it's all clear. But there's one key thing that was brought out regarding Indian Housing Plan. If there's any changes with the Indian Housing Plan during the IHP program year, there is opportunity to amend that plan if there's something that needs to happen for adjustments, maybe to add on some activity. But the one thing that has happened in the past, in the last 2019 and 22 or 20, is that when we abruptly added projects to IHP, it impacted the other portions because we had to go back through and do the amendment process, and so it does impact the area. But in terms of amending, changing the IHP through the program year, the law does and the program does allow that adjustments through each year for the Indian Housing Plan to be modified, sir. So in terms of hopefully answer. The other questions is in terms of the questions about open communications. When I think that's dialogue that is very needed. As we have new boardships and areas there, and I think that communication and leadership meetings, in terms of a monthly aspects of it, is a great tool for us to have confidence in each other in terms of how we carry out our program. So I believe that the recommendations was having that established monthly meetings and to abreast everything of RDC, of what Housing Authority, we can work with the boardship on that if there's a scheduled type of meetings that we have or discussion just for activities. Going on to Mr. Freeland's questions, and the question was back, what is the difference from past IHP? Well, this year, when we were looking at the area, we put a lot more emphasis in new development sites for public rental. And those from the statistics from the applications that were received and about the area that we need to look at for some of the communities. We have Pebble Ventado, Manalito, Tisto, and Upper Nageezi. Those areas there. We added those new development sites so we can put that into the plan and actual architectural early sites, and seeing where how much housing we can build to get it into the actual construction phase. And this portion, which is in the planning phase, we go through the environmental. So the new one that we're presenting here, last year we had some, but we're adding more new development sites as we increase. And that's the thing that is rolling out of those 32 development sites we have and putting more emphasis on some of these bigger development communities. And this building of these communities will help some of the growth on some of these rural areas near schools, because Pueblo Ventado has a new school. Manolitos has expanding on Gallup and Tisto. We'll look at addressing some of the lower Bennett Freeze, and then Nalgizi, some of the units that we have that we're looking at. The other question, how is the IHP set in place to work? I think if we have a continued dialogue, monthly dialogue on how and what we're being doing, and have information being relayed to our oversight, that confidence of building this out, and we can gauge it every 3 months, because there's 4 quarters in the year, and every 3 months we have those dialogues and discussions of progress in terms of areas that are activities that are moving forward, or areas that we may be struggling with. And I think that if we work the IHP like that through the proper chains of communications, we can have that clear dialogue and transparency. The other question was, how do we, how's the Washington office being seen? Well, that's hard to say. The last time that Housing Authority visit any type of congressional individuals was in early 2019. So there's been roughly about 3 years of non-communication with the individuals out there on the status of what we're doing, but we still have routine communications between HUD and the Washington office on some of the activities that we're doing now. And then our monthly meetings with HUD is basically covers the overview of progress and then challenges of what we're faced with in coming out of this pandemic, and what we're going to be looking at with the increasing costs of construction materials. And I believe that the communications that we're having monthly with HUD is basically should be provided to their oversights and then disseminated through there. But currently within the Housing Authority, we do not have a straight line of communication with any type of oversight individuals within the Senate of Indian Affairs or congressional. But that's something that probably needs to happen, at least to show them the transparency and the progress that we have. And this is where we've been really wanting to utilize this GIS aspects of it to map those areas out and showing what's being happening across the reservation, versus everything being on a one plane type environment, meaning it's just on paper, but you can't see, it's not tangible, you can't see it across what the whole reservation, what activities are being carried out. The last thing about communication improvements, I believe that as I mentioned earlier, we build to improve. We got to build on our communication, and if we build on that communication and filtering that out, I think that's one of the things from our level as in management aspects between the governmental leadership and the leaderships within the board, and in my level of executives, bringing that information to you to where we can disseminate that out to the field office level is very critical. Chair, I hope that provides some feedback, but we'll provide these comments back in writing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Waseda. Honorable Daniels, you're next, sir. Honorable Daniels, press *6. Honorable Daniels.
Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Go ahead.
There's some noise in the background.
May everybody please put their phones on mute. Please put your phones on mute. Thank you. Go ahead, Honorable Daniels.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I don't know the Resources and Development Committee members could all them. Shanat Ano Senegi. So it's the Kayaja, I don't know what shake. I don't know what Shanat chair. I don't know Makeno Senegi could all them. His staff, I don't know what all them. Dino Strangi could all a half thing. Could all them. I guess that way, could not so could not hit that thing, could legislation. Could not read the IHP, Indian Housing Plan. It could have been live. Actually, what's next with this? So, I don't know, Ash, Mr. Lake, welcome aboard. I see those just a great could back in since it has been docodo. I don't know, could say, or say, tore down, I did. The rates have been skate down. I don't use it, what did it, the rate that or say to Shantos, I be can, other than not for any banashness. Could them. I can't could them. It isn't that easy. She could on it. I don't could also not understand the Gikodo. The dice it over non horse can't all this Kakodo. It's been the other day, yesterday, and today, Nana. Could on grade NHA could that on there. Baby J, how years near could. That is on the whole Jessica. Because of the Asagi eats, Yadahil, Yadahil, Ashon, but also Ashni hit Yande, Mr. Lake, Ashwood Andal, the sort Asian and case of that, so even Kododam. The other day, this morning, so that's that's because of that, I had Bana or Bana or Ka. So could on a great dance for it or not the deal and so did. I call it another he's here now with all just did a couple. Another deed, less or not for those nation. I don't know Quado or you in how the Quado the Velasi played on the measure that is in the show. The great the new NHA board that has been for. The whole Navajo Nation Council, 24th Council, this is a detail. And now, the other day, I don't know, today, I don't know, yesterday and today, that Ziggy has Rob ever got deal. Has Rob ever something, but the husband, dollars. But the husband, I don't know, I guess not, and the Shiggy situation went deal, so not, but I guess that deal. So what about this case? I see in the house. Don't need it. Is not. I'm saying as a late in the house, later and the house. How one bed the house. The best she taught the bed the house. The next agent his husband not. I have it in how the. I see the queen about Aslana all day as and what. So the Nana could all have nature, Sonanta, nature. Deba Sana or Garty days, nature, former council delegate Tom Chi, and Nina has an accord and Asagi eats later, could not on it, I had no bill. President, former presidents, former chairmen, should have not dog way bed to the how the dust, let it know that. Wait, look about me. I don't know, Dana could. Shanaya had the chairman Nez. 11 nado that the nation. Naveda Bishop Al-Kash. A dust state that Noya had the Ada died way that's what I need. I'm a great and I see that Illinigi. I call the rate the price of wafer boards. They're like $50 today. Yeah, I know it used to be $5. It done that lada. Lada that you on that desk kita. Kade do short Baba Hilnakoto. Okotona Gatam. And I'm gonna vote green on this legislation. I have an educated debate Kodo Nagata new board seat at the nest, but not this. So they could on a great Nagata text that they show ya not. I see Nagata. This one's under that. I see a yada house here, though that was nice. No, that is basic giant hushed the other day. I see need that on that OD need to go. So kudo da deal na kudo da sinat ano sinigi do na kudo NXA aja da inishigi kudo ne nije na so gi pisa na so da deal so I kudo I sinat ne basis sinigi aho do ne in person do le hota I des kista kudo na that to meet in person maybe at the council chamber even yes I see kista da deal ne na how I don't think that she United dollars in NXA board as a bandal na she don't know so what about it or less Mr. Chair a here who is this na hala to link at it kada third na hala ba yana hui pia or here who is this as that they'll get store and all here who is this na so yeah or is it na on the year no dali yeah the city that it so you had an handed okay that we okay we this okay we this so Mr. Chair on so let's move forward.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Nathan, we do need to meet with the new NHA Board of Commissioners. I believe meeting in person would be very appropriate for Oversight Committee, RDC, and NHA Board of Commissioners to meet in Window Rock. And we'll request that. I know that Ms. Siako's on the call, so Ms. Begay also, so we can coordinate and schedule a date, perhaps after the summer session. Somebody needs to put their phone on mute. At the end, there's a lot of static on the phone. Please put your phones on mute. So there's a request to meet with NHA Board of Commissioners and RDC. We'll make a note of that. Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Let me go to Honorable Elmer Begay. Honorable Elmer Begay. Honorable Begay.
Shana,
Go
can you hear
ahead.
me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon, other the members of the RDC committee and other NHA board members and other the CEO, I thought Mr. Waseda. My just quickly going to this question is on the I guess I asked a question regarding the budget that was shown to us regarding the infrastructures. Or you on the like I said, IHS or the builders of the infrastructures, how we all did that, but actually the engineering and part of it, IHS did there to run the water lines, and even the hydraulic part of it, you tank water tank thing, the don't to serve that community, to serving all that, do the service survey and then the assessment. Did that. And actually just come in by community requesting they build homes like this. I call a lot of it. They should be doing that is put some money into the infrastructure to help the community. Just like, for example, Dalcon, that there's a lack of water, but needs to be improvement made. If you sit down and look at the whole the assessment and the whole plan, there still needs to be improvement how we can make the rec to the impact on it, the lack of water there. But there's $5.2 million that is needed to improve that water system to get to Dalton. I call you, your engineer, your planners need to sit with the IHS and NTA to help put some money into the infrastructures. Or one day or you're just putting homes here and there, but you're not even putting some money into the infrastructure, the current infrastructures. So that's what I wanted to say. But the last one I wanted to ask is but to me, my questions not been answered. What kind of plans do you have right now? This has been going on for the past 2 years now. Unstable administration. And there's nobody that's doing the management part of it, and how these there's nobody addressing why there's no construction of homes. And we just approve these IHP it's been 3 years now. So that's what I was saying. What's the unstable administration, even the with the board members, they're still there. Is there any plan that we could look at it? Does that look at these plans to see how NXA as a CEO and how the board members, the new one, how are they going to be working together to expedite some of these projects, can we do some construction? That's all we've been hearing. So I think the better way to do is I want to see some plans on how this coordination and how this cooperation and how this teamwork has to will work together. I haven't seen it, I haven't heard it yet. So that's what I think that's what the committee should and then as a I think we need to hear that. We need to see it in writing. I've been saying this for a year. Now just got so after the gene after you say that. So I don't know if there can be some plans on how this coordination will be put in place to see some homes. I don't know we need. I like to see a schedule on it too. See, we've seen your how much money is going to be appropriated for this IHP, but when is the schedule going to start? When is we're going to see the construction of these homes? I don't know when is it going to be? When will we see those homes? We need a schedule with that. I know that already see you're the last final authority to this legislation. So members are gonna.
Thank you, Honorable Begay, for your comments and questions. Let me give the time over back to Mr. Waseda.
Good afternoon, Chairman Nez. I didn't get all of the information from Herman Daniels, but I do agree that maybe a 2-day work session in terms of all of the project activities, comparisons over each program that has been happening in the last 5 years or more. And that will cover everything in terms of the program requirements and some of the challenges we have with each one of them, going from the ACAM limits to the environmental areas to the requirements for repairs. And I think that is something that is really needed. After we can coordinate a schedule after that to have a 2-day session and go over the whole comparison of all the program activities in the last 5 years of Housing Authority and Indian Housing Plan. Moving, I guess, to the question regarding the infrastructure from Honorable Elmer Begay. One of the things that I mentioned in the past, there's a Public Law 86-121 Indian Health Service has, and that public law there it has the authorization for IHS provides and maintains essential water supply, sewage. And those are for, they call them AIs and NI homes and communities, part of the Indian Health Service comprehensive care mission that they have. There's a document called the Sanitation Deficiency Systems that IHS utilizes every year. In this document that's through under the Public Law 8621 is one of the things that we have been challenged with over the years. With this reauthorization that's going through Congress now, I'm very grateful, Honorable Nez and RDC, we submitted those comments to the Senate of Indian Affairs back in 2009 or 19, and those comments that we asked where we could blend money with IHS is actually in the bill. Because in the past years, when we tried to approach IHS, and they says, well, you got your own money, we got our money. There was no real partnership and collaboration, but I'm very grateful that this, under the new authorization bill that they're looking through for Congress, we can actually we can do away with that prohibition requirements under the 86-121 public law of IHS, where we can utilize two different fund sources to do community improvement. So I believe that once that is incorporated into the reauthorization of NAHAZA, that will give us that opportunity to do a lot more in Indian country. Because it's not only on the Navajo reservation; it's everywhere. There's a conflict between that law that was created back in the 90s. But as we move forward with the NAHAZA portion, this will open areas. The one thing that we were challenged with because of the areas with infrastructure. NHA, just doing NHA, looking at the analysis in the last 7 years, NHA has put over a little more than $24 million in power line extensions, three-phase line upgrades, water line improvements, and even the reevaluations of sewer lagoons, and that's reservation-wide for projects that we've done in the last 7 years. So there's been areas there as we build out in which we can document and show during this work session. But I believe that in areas that's significant from Honorable Begay's area and all of the Honorable Council members, this new reauthorization portion of the law will help us and move forward to actually see how we can blend with infrastructure, because not us as NHA, but NHA has capacity levels with USDA components, which we can blend our services together. And then this will be an opening of a new door and a new era for infrastructure developments. And looking at the new horizons, how we're going to be sustainable on the reservations. I'm going to close with that, Chairman Nez, and I hope that, and Honorable Begay, I hope that provides you information. If you need further information on the Public Law 121 or else the Sanitation Deficiency System guidelines that the IHS provided me, I'm more than happy to provide that information to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wasetta, for that. Thank you. Honorable Kealan Begay, you're next.
Chairman, Nando Likia, Kodo, Bahananas Sitole, Ado Kodo, NHA, and then board members. Naflinigi, again, welcome on board. This is my normal frustration statements, not just only to NHA, but all of the programs across the Navajo Nation. Don't take it personally. If that's the case, I apologize. But nonetheless, I don't want to apologize of a situation of how Navajo people are living out there. I mean, they do need the help out there. They need a home out there. Other chairman, this issue is not just only to you. I mean, there's always a response that the council needs to do this or the oversight needs to do this. And that's what some of the questions that I posed to the administration this morning. What area, if you know there's a situation that you know a policy is an issue, why can't they bring it us? Why do we have to hunt people down to say that what policy is the reason why we don't have no progress? I'm sure there's a internal Navajo Nation policy that needs to be reviewed. I don't know if there's a state issue or a federal issue. And then also, Chairman, I guess let me know if I'm going too far or overboard on my comment. I'm making a response to some of my colleagues' responses or statements. When will I make a statement or a comment on a legislation that's going to be enacted as a policy, as a law? I guess that's all. Yes, on advocating on behalf of my people or my community. Or that's the programs or they're not taking us seriously because some of us are kind of like defending them. And Chairman, I believe I have the floor. That was during a work session or a leadership meeting. And I believe that's different, a duly called meeting of an Oversight Resource and Development Committee, special meeting, Katnana. And this document before us is a policy because on isna the nen hada is nilikipe as Title 2 be Bakago gope a kitten kashi it ashi it art. So I believe I have every right representing the 5 chapters to this council that I would make a statement, a comment, and however I feel that's the best interest of the community or the people that I represent. It may be taking up too much time. And I always say that I want to be sure, I want to make sure that I am on record on a lot of these policies that we enact, that I have made a statement. And then you indicated that people are texting you. Not just through texting, but through email. And even at the chapter meeting, and I apologize if I take too much time when I'm speaking, Chairman, but I believe that as a committee member, and if that's justifiable, that I'm not making sense and making comment on issue or legislation that's before us. Specifically, and then never label my statement or comments as a yahatke. Shitnan dinigi babana inch kankodo aszabe. Bishikiti saki kwake. E adat shibayashke. A call quacky. I showed it on hit the snitch. But I try my best and I'll do my best to be to the point as possible. But as you know that when we speak in Navajo, it takes a lot of time to get our point across. So with that, Chairman, I would appreciate that as long as I'm on RDC and then as long as I'm on the Navajo Nation Council, I have the opportunity on any legislation that comes before the committee, NABI, or the council that I'm given an opportunity to voice my concern, to voice my issue, to make a statement, just so that I know that the community that I represent, that I had expressed and relayed their message to the governing body of the Navajo Nation. So I do support the legislation. I've indicated that earlier in our text message. I haven't even said that. But you heard my point and you heard my statement. So with that, what I've said this morning is what I said and what I've said this afternoon in the duly called meeting for the RDC. And I hope that this is reflecting our minutes. Chapters as much as I can share a lot of these information of these minutes. Chairman, so yes, I do support the legislation. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Honorable Begay, for asserting yourself and making your statements for your chapters and the Navajo Nation. Honorable members of RDC, Koro Anhiba Nosan, Shananta, Nispehosan, though any the day hot indicate Koro by Yale Kita Dana do teacher. Nareda Ashin with our hands, so she to host a net a data. In his Bahosan Konza to hold Jisho, Yaha Yale take it ego. Ban Hinne, Fight Ashin Hahit, Hiki Yaha, it reflects on yourself, Anhe. Fight Ashin Yas Hiki, Ben He Ehosan. Ashtikota, had the Naya Shahans and shared the Lakota, so the Neshi Yeshahans and Ani Hushed Ingoko. I don't so the Anik has done a good yet or straight talk. I show up yet or Chito a house bahat or Ziki by yet just take or thought I yet. And the integrity that Aliga. That Egi Bejit Egi Be Trust Ziligi Be the Netchelini do San Stand and Lishi Yena Zayet and Still. A court of dignity the Kodo housing has Argent hit a neighborhood Inigi Bah Shnanda Bah Chahasan. It's emotional, which is at the negate Sitsala on Bobgay. Ashini Shitsata Honandishni, Ashasazegi. Kroye Yan Hacheta the Shnesa. What I mean by that, and I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I say, is you're expressing emotions. Hadanepa was one as Hachetani. Which Nahot Egige Gabahasons and Junna Shanant Anos Senegate and Evanant Anos Bandas Nishigibanas again hit chapters though, and then hit Yastiki Satashin Hitchin, Dobas the Hajondasa, Nitchin Shibanda Hatchin, Nitch text this, I don't hitch email this, Iga Hashin hit that named Nahato on Ha is Nalipini na Koros side hidden Tehiki, Nihikijin Hidi Tahop and Nach Kodo, Nedana. Ebony na Chahasan Hijabi get go hot on hidden Epayaski. Banda enoch ka. Eolia cha cha. You're expressing your emotion for your people that are struggling because they're hurting, because they're homeless, because some of them they don't have food on the table. Some of them lost their job not only during the pandemic. They can't cosne hit san snegi but not endaka. Sato. Abelage the Nessa Waganda Denche Rego Khaled Danzen. This involves a whole lot, the housing. I'm not here to defend NHA, but the new leadership's going to realize sooner or later there are silos involved here. There's NTUA that has to bring them electricity. OHE, Office of Environmental Health, IHS, they have to do their part. Permits, Bahaloni, they have to do their part. So they're going to have to learn someone is not working well as far as coordinating. Ado kodo yada hanize kadila hohot ela. Mr. Wasida and his whole silos. These are the hindrances. Resources and Development Committee were the oversight. Shitseledo to Daido Nida Kialan. Honest Hodo Daido Nida do Daddy Nida Shady base of its Ankanikal. Ono what Anahot Era. Then that the Aya Anshi edate in Ebonina a wheat zarole. But on in need Sozo, so Ahunado, Nis deadline, how long ago. Ebonina Kodo directive against Yad Ehobed on Nish. We can do that. We can meet now periodically with NHA's new board membership and say, and encourage them and tell them, that a deed in this honest one hit a neba at Nenegate. Ne horo hotaha oji, nya itke at Nene Sataban to the case, Sadiki. Nan no seniki, nan kinnet ego, baby is eat hinsla. Honashit that makes at sata aroston ne or cheats netase. On to the case on Tiwish cost. Aro eben nation nana, nas nana. Not ill tahla. We're a good team, RDC. As your his name, Miss Goy Hunza Hoholzish. A cotig is by neat Inigi Indian Housing Plant, Koro, Navajo Housing Authority. The non Yosiniki, a Kodahol, Sigmini, Nine Hitatos, so on hit RDCA, Ben Hitet, Ito, and Hoholni, Bela, the Platiki. RGE, a whole G's. At Nara Besmas, Ansatoha, Hadahas, Zito, a Bendato, Sato, Kadain, Hit. Only Sahanada is the Kroshek and Nasit id Nitiki in Hinanish in Ilzen, Shanant Arno Seniki. A core share, but Arnab Kiel Tikit or Hajo, Bahunos and Dida by Yasti Git. In Hidden Ani egg is it is for dear Navajo people that we're doing this for. I don't care, Shanant Honorable Vice Chair Walker, for sponsoring this legislation. So let me go back to Honorable Vice Chair Walker, and then I'll go to Honorable Daniels. Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Yes, Chairman. Chairman. How did you know? Yeah, Chairman. For these phones and virtual calls and whatnot, Zoom calls. Resource Development Committee members, the agents also from NHA, the Board of Commissioners from NHA. We have a new leadership in the housing area of our government. Responsibility is tremendous in managing and handling, administering the resources given by the federal government. The resources are not just given to NHA. They have to account for everything, every red cent. But just that alone by itself, counting probably takes tremendous amount of effort and spending resources on just doing that alone. And then, just thousands of details that's involved in what we're talking about, housing development. So to put up one home for eligible Navajo families, I don't know what if anyone would care to take a chance at a guess how much that would cost. So what on see case one bahilan dishin to quit the mail chin bahilan. What end one dot arto in ex banan she leko and the peso typen data peso pan the adotibani craig it out of the indicator nan or you a nigin in the house. Kito nshega it ahita all town. A coshindo you peso chong ego. Is it the housing provider? Actually, you're only that's a one. A dadna. Atlasa aniki ban sahakesa. This is the que biga Chanel biga. Peso dota ilike and not talking about the construction costs, but just the administrative costs. Quite get a yakahata Chanel biga. So that ban sahakes on the case Chinanda. But end today, kita with negate. Today a hate seat or little net nature. A quite on next teacher we have with ya dana or teacher. Stahila Board of Commissioners get abiga held egg on the milko. So it confirmed that yago a full board. Ado is it election CEO nana kingo. They did not yago. Trapet it little nana to. Then the bandit indicate on city. I had it all with out a shadow next with out in Nasan Ika or Asiki who one the Nebeda or the Hipe need in Dolly. Did adequate an Hannah teacher, 3 board members, so acting or interim CEO. A could echo. Art Abigahil out Nahas Hashing on that. The Adole Baching La Adole Banani Kahota. I get Eastern Ashant, what Edole. Judabiti, no. Oh, what Abansas case to Oshnanda called Oshiwan Togo. Sabe Shaho, Agi Hanana Seed Ole. I don't hear Chairman is Ben hita hain gishin fansana de kiso le o. Netza ado it's ado let nasta chinnehi le shit end at sa kushin at shini inta at na o kato sa dal jol na hadnigi tadeyo ya hashka able date ko chot ato he hoin simbilit ihota tadena tin so hota ko ye oba chen zin o le ko age shinanta ko hota la chairman committee members.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Honorable Daniels.
Mr. Chair, Nana Kodo, not Senegi Kodo, the RDC members Kodo, and his staff. I think the Kodo, Kodo should shake, Vice Chair. Legislation Kodo, he got named for Kodo. And I should go out of that, Papa, yes, Pido, no, yes, Kodo, and how it in a by Yahdi Tail at one better the West Zico. I need Papa Zico. Now Tilico on the Zin Sabaha Zico a shade on dot it. As on it, even Snake Dicodo. Every day we're growing. Navajo Nation population of our Navajo, we're growing every day. So the and how don't eat that. I think it's cool to know what go. There's a cheap and how it all is. Two bed and how it all is. Two chons it as many bed and has it all is. How one bed and how it all is. Eight on dot it. I don't in niche with it. Eight on dot it. So what any ban eight did. So what do I question with Papa see what do. I appreciate this legislation. A lot has been said in the areas of our communities at the local level, the needs of homes. As we all know, that not every family has a decent home. So, so that I not let it has seen so you ever ban this case of that down you could not be there, but many gate Katabanas so I see that I would need that I don't he has later. So we gotta start moving. Put our Tiki into action. Then need the conduct need to walk the talk nearly. Look at it that we're talking the talk. So we need to walk the talk. So what is it on let's go so Baba now can't quite. So what and me could have been so let's pass this legislation item that moving forward we'll meet with the new NHA board in down the road in the future. Maybe it's like what Mr. Betta said, maybe a 2-day work session with the RDC and also NHA board and also NHA Ajada in Michigan and invite the 24th Navajo Nation Council colleagues. The new board so so with that said, I'm going to make a motion to cease debate with Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Honorable Daniels, there's no motion for cease debate at committee level. I don't think there is, but we can complete the discussion here. Any other last comments or questions? None? No other comments or questions on Fenegi. Legislation 0106-21 is before us to vote on at this time. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart,
Green.
Honorable Begay,
Chairman Keelan votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker,
Chairman, I vote green.
Honorable Daniels.
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Wasetta. Also, Board of Commissioners, as well as Ms. Gilmore. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Oh, yeah, you know. And,
Nanta. Honorable Keelan Begay wanted to have a directive to NHA Board of Commissioners. Therefore, our Chief Legislative Council has sent out a directive, and that directive, Ms. Begay, could you read that directive in for the record, and we'll make a motion in a second. It will be added to the committee report. Ms. Begay. Press *6. Ms. Begay.
Mr. Chair, hold on.
Okay.
The directive that was requested by Keelan Begay and a written language has been issued out by the Office of the Legislative Council, Chief Legislative Council. Directive: once the incoming commissioners are seated, the NHA Board of Commissioners shall review the IHP and recommend any changes to RDC for approval. This task will be completed in the next 30 days. Once a permanent executive director is hired, the Board of Commissioners shall entertain his/her recommended changes to the IHP and recommend any changes to RDC for approval. This task will be completed in the 30 days after the executive director is hired. Mr. Chair, back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Begay, for reading that into the record. Honorable Begay, is this how you want the directive?
Chairman, I do motion as read by the advisor. Chairman, that's my motion for a directive.
Thank you, Zitsila. Honorable Begay. Is there a second? Second.
Chairman, I'll second that.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker, for that. Any questions or comments on the directive? None. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Chairman Keelan votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
Chair, I vote green.
Honorable Daniels?
Green.
We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting, motion carries on the directive. Thank you. Back to B on the agenda, approving to schedule a leadership meeting to discuss grazing permittees consent relative to Navajo Nation infrastructure projects and utility service projects. Ms. Begay, do you have a recommended date? Ms. Begay?
Mr. Chair, right now for August, I have August 3rd, August 12th, and 13th open.
August 3rd, we can probably schedule the sooner the better.
Okay.
Okay,
August
so
3rd will be the soonest. And it's on a Tuesday.
okay, 9 o'clock.
Oh, that'll be fine.
Thank you. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second.
Motion, Stuart.
Keelan.
Honorable
Second,
Stewart, motion, second by Honorable Begay. Thank you. Any questions on this for August 3rd at 9 o'clock a.m.?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
it was requested that we have Department of Agriculture, BIA, and the Executive Board grazing officers representative to the meeting. So I'll work and get those people to the table along with Land Department and General Land Development Department and DNR Division Director, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, who's this?
Mr. Chair, I am Tanner Begay, a grazing official with Tisal Sakat chapter. Hello, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Begay, we're approving a scheduling of a leadership meeting to discuss grazing permittees consent related to the Navajo Nation infrastructure projects and utility service projects. So this is an RDC business, and we will invite grazing officials to this meeting. So you will be welcome to that meeting, Mr. Begay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for tuning in to RDC meeting. Any questions or comments, committee members? None. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Chairman Keelan votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Walker, Vice Chair Walker?
Chairman, I vote green.
Honorable Daniels?
Green.
We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. We'll have it on August 3rd at 9 o'clock in the morning. Thank you. Honorable members of RDC, we're at the conclusion of our committee meetings. Any other announcements? None.
Chair.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair, though, committee members and staff. I'd like to make a request. It doesn't need to be acted on, just a request for a report from Global Source LLC. Global Source, report or presentation actually at our next regular meeting of the RDC. The week after the council session. Global Source LLC. Colin Goddard. Goddard. Report. It relates to water technology.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, could you restate the name?
Colin
person?
Goddard. Yes, Colin Goddard. Goddard. Colin Goddard.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair Walker. Ms. Begay, could you add that on to the next Resource and Development Committee meeting after the council session, which would be on the 28th? Ms. Begay?
Mr. Chair, I did make note of it, and that meeting will be on July 28th, and I also received another request, which will also be on the agenda as well, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. McGay, for that. And Honorable Vice Chair Walker, we will add that on to RDC's meeting on the 28th. Any other announcements?
Thank you.
Chairman Callan.
Honorable McGay, go ahead.
Chairman, Sean, a week or 2 weeks ago, on a Saturday, we had a quick phone call with one of the cell carrier, and they were saying that they really need help internal with the process of establishing towers is hindering in some areas, and also I don't know if this could be done administratively, that we do a follow-up on it with maybe Mr. Hilona's office or Ms. Yazi's office. I believe that they're saying that they're working with the group that they've hired, with old Mr. Hilona. We even had an MOA signed by the president. No, Chairman, how do we resolve that issue on behalf of the request by one of the cell carrier? Chairman?
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Yes, we did have that meeting Saturday morning, and we did say that we would request a leadership meeting for that. But if you think, Honorable Begay, that it should go on the next RDC meeting, we can put them under reports, and we'll bring Navajo Land Department and General Land Development Department to the table with Cell 1 on the first net issue. Ashbiga Khan Islands, and which one would you prefer?
Preferably, probably next RDC meeting, Chairman.
Okay, Ms. Begay, could you add under reports from Cell 1 in reference to first net that we will have a discussion and make sure that we have Navajo Land Department and General Land Development Department at the table as well, Ms. Begay. That will be for the 28th under reports. Ms. Begay?
Mr. Chair, I am making notes of them.
Okay, thank you. Well, Honorable Begay, we will have it on the agenda on the 28th.
Thank you, Chair.
There you go. Oh, any other announcements, committee members? None? Motion to adjourn?
Chair, I motion.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, motion, second by?
Freeland.
Honorable Freeland. Any questions? None. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart.
Green.
Honorable Begay.
Chairman Kiel votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Chairman, I vote green.
Honorable Daniels.
Green.
We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. We officially adjourned at 3:23 p.m. Thank you for your participation, Shanantana Senege, as well as Navajo Housing Authority and my honorable colleagues that are on the call. And thank you very much, RDC staff and Office of Legislative Counsel. Be safe out there and have a good weekend. May God bless you all, and we'll see you Sunday morning at Winter Rock Fairgrounds for the beginning of RDC tour of the Drop Tour. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.